Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to the Shrouded Isle. Things are going alright, pretty well, I guess. So all we really have to do here is try not to allow our penitence to fall too low. I guess managing our discipline is also important. So we definitely want to use you to drive penitence up a little bit. We're going to lose some ignorance, but that's fine. We got plenty of cover on that. We should probably go ahead and give you a push too, and then because fervor is super fine and we're raising it, we can probably go ahead and drop it as well. Let us see if we can figure out some of these question marks. Spends extra time at monument construction sites, and we didn't get anything on Vadim this time. That's a little unfortunate. Gwendolyn whips the sinful and encourages more confessors to come forward. And polls the town on their thoughts about a library. Can you imagine the gall? Demas interrogates townspeople. Come on, man. Give me something. Okay, he was discovered to be gentle. He spends some of the month's budget on cushions for the cathedral's pews. Gentle, by the way, not in the most innocuous vice class. This is a mid-level vice. Oh, I suppose I do need to be thinking about this. So if we use Matron Kegney twice, if we use her once, she'll go up to -20, and then not, the next month not use her, and she'll go back down. So if we use Matron Kegney twice, we can keep her from being dissatisfied. Or sorry, if we use the person from House Kegney, not the matron herself, obviously. If we use, we want to use Yosefka one more time, and the others it doesn't matter so much. We should try to use Cadwell one more time. We'll get, if they're in Zealous, we'll get 2 inquiries from them, I believe. So this month, probably these 3. Our stats are basically fine. Yeah, and we can afford to suffer through the kleptomania a little bit. Alright, we have an average outcome. Eden experiments and finds new efficient ways of lighting fires. Well, that's good. Okay, he's minus ignorance. That's good. Good information. Ah, okay. Well, this is good information because now we know that it is possible for somebody to have a major virtue and a major vice at the same time. And now we know that sacrificing her is going to have a serious negative effect on our penitence, so we need to prepare for that. Chernobog's will guides Vadim to steal everybody's stuff. He was discovered to be violent, which we're basically fine with. Okay, so we don't need to use either of these two to maintain their stance, but we should probably use the Kegney person again to keep them in neutral. And we need to drive up penitence. Ignorance is going to take a serious hit here. We can definitely afford to lose some fervor. But I'd rather run Vadim. I'd like to figure out what everybody's vices are. At least what type of vice everybody has. I'm a little worried about where we're going to end up ignorance-wise here. I wasn't really thinking about it before, but I suppose being a pyromaniac would actually be really good for someone from House Kegney. It fits into their duties quite well. Alright, we are unfortunately not getting a lot of information. I'm not sure if learning about people's vices and stuff is random or what the deal is. It might be that after a certain number of attempts you do learn. So we actually, we learned that Vadim is minus ignorance, and that's pretty bad for us. We lost a lot of ignorance there. It looks like it's settled right about on the hash mark. We saw it just for a moment there briefly. Yeah, it settled right on the hash mark. So, okay, we're fine. Having Ludmilla be sacrificed will not take our penitence below the mark. It leads to a huge surge in obedience, which is something we don't really need. And House Yosefka will not be happy, but they won't be in open rebellion about it or anything. This is the right choice. I mean, for a certain value of right, obviously. Okay. House Yosefka solemnly mourns. Now they're at -50, but -50 is not It's not dangerous to us necessarily. Does mean that we're not going to do any inquiries there. Okay. So if we inquire about Iva Kegney, we will find out what her negative trait is. And it could be the one we're looking for. Swindler. No, Swindler's probably not a lack of discipline. Maybe we should inquire on Carell. Yeah, let's just try to figure out... we didn't get it. I really want to know what everybody's what everybody's vices are. Okay, Cadwell is zealous, so they'll put up with a lot of questioning. Okay, so you're disobedient. And you're the swindler. Okay. Appointed. We're going to be a little bit careful. I guess our discipline's in a high enough place where we don't necessarily need to pick her at all. Alright, one inquiry here, and it's nice, in a sense. It's nice that the person we're going to sacrifice is from the house that likes us best, because, you know, obviously that will mean we're not suffering too badly from the selection. I suppose the thing to do here is to ask after Nikolai. We know now almost at least the category of every virtue. Alright, well, we're asking after one of these two. We haven't seen a lot of vices related to obedience yet. Teen. Fuss and interrupts other people when they're talking. And he's a teen, which is a minor vice. Listen, it's not the worst. I don't advocate assassinating or sacrificing anybody due to being a teen. But I do feel like this... I mean, I guess what we were doing here is really showing the virtue of ignorance. Because it seems to me like maybe we should have known this dude was a teen before. Okay, so that's all of our inquiries. A letter arrives. A light has been seen in Eden Kegney's window long after the sleeping hours have begun. House Kegney is accused of harboring one who reads forbidden texts. He's probably just starting fires in his room. We shall inspect his room for evidence, which raises our obedience, which we don't need. We can inform House Kegney, which they would like, but... Or we shall punish frivolous complaints. Actually, none of these are really very... I wish that we could punish the frivolous complaints in a way that encouraged penitence instead of ignorance. Let's just let them look into it. You discreetly informed by House Kegney that Eden has a blessing of pyromania granted by our Lord. The light is nothing to worry about. Oh! If we hadn't known already that he was a pyromaniac, this might have granted us that knowledge. That's interesting. Something to potentially remember for future games. So I guess let's just lock everybody in here. We really, I think, need people who are going to help push our ignorance up. So Iva is definitely in. We need to worry about ignorance and penitence this season. That's an awkward group of traits you have there, Miko. Ignorant but lacking in fervor? That sounds perfect. Okay, we still don't know the traits. We still don't know the trait categories of everybody from House Blackbourne. Let's bring on Casimira. Might be able to discover her vice. And here, this is somebody we're going to be picking probably. We really like plus penitence, but I do not like linguist. We don't want somebody who's unrepentant. We could bring in Vassin. We don't care too much about our obedience right now, and he might have a positive trait that we could reveal that would be useful. Okay, so first, ignorance and penitence must climb. We're going to lose some discipline. We want to be careful about that. We don't want to lose discipline too many times because I don't want to have to pick Maria. And then... yeah, we'll pick you to add to our ignorance while giving us a little bit more information. Ah, not good. But she does discover a few extra books, as she always does. Hey, look at that. She's an embezzler. When asked about the month's finances, Iva claims to have lost the receipts. Yeah, it seems like the game has randomly placed most of our major vices onto women. I can verify, in case anybody was curious, that is not a thing that always happens. I think they're just distributed randomly over the group of people. Okay, Vasin is rumored to be ignorant. That's good, because I don't really want to run Kegni very many more times. We can't afford to lose that much discipline, so using Vasin to push our ignorance up for the rest of the season might be our strategy. And we're not in a place where we particularly benefit or suffer from using anybody relationship-wise, so we can really just focus in on our stats and uncovering new information. So let's use both of these, because we need to push ignorance up, but again, I don't really feel comfortable picking Iva anymore, because I don't want our discipline to go so low that we're motivated to pick up Maria. Actually, Casimir, too. Yeah, we have lots of ways of pushing ignorance up this season without actually having to deal with Iva. Alright, we've got a nice shrine. He was discovered to be superstitious. Casimir foretells good fortune and reads good omens everywhere. Alright, that's very, very good for us. Vasin granted forgiveness to sinners without punishment. What a monster. He's particularly organized and efficient during the ceremonies. That's nice. And we got a great outcome on obedience where we definitely do not need it. And we discovered that Kazmira is shy. Well, that'll be fine. That's not a big deal. So we could just select the same 3 people and have a pretty good outcome. We don't need Vasin from an information standpoint, but we do probably want the little bit of penitence. We're going to sacrifice the Swindler, right? So we're going to lose some discipline this month. I don't really have the ability to affect that. Yeah, let's just do the same group of people. I want a little bit of penitence, and I want a chance to figure out some traits. Alright, average outcome. He is complacent. That's fine. That's actually totally fine. Honestly, I bet we have enough fervor that we never have to worry about minus fervor traits ever again. Okay, and we discovered that she is plus discipline. That's actually really good. This is a good time for that. Okay, we've managed to maintain the zealousness of House Cadwell. I always want to say Caldwell. So, one thing to consider is that removing Maria will change the discipline that has the high hash mark. That's good in a way, because our discipline is falling and we need to be concerned about that. But if it put the high hash mark on like ignorance or something, that would be a little bit worse for us than where it is now. That said, I think this is still probably the right play. It pushes penitence up quite a bit. It makes our falling discipline no longer a big deal, and House Cadwell will merely fall from zealous to satisfied, which I'm totally fine with. Yeah, I think that was the right call. My, that's quite a bit of blood. I suppose a human has a lot of blood in them. The night before the new season, a whisper caresses our dreams. My most beloved, you struggle so pleasingly. Encourage ignorance. And find the embezzler. Hey, I already did. What do you know? Okay, so there is a problem though, right? The embezzler is in House Kegni. We need to use her because we need to drive ignorance up. It's gonna have a marked effect on discipline. Although I guess that's not that big a deal anymore. So we go for minus discipline. Well, we don't really have a choice. We need to appoint Iva because we need to sacrifice Iva. What is going on in House Kegni, by the way? All of the major vices. Oh wait, we don't get to question them. These guys are satisfied enough with our rule. So I think we're probably going to bring Ivan, so we don't need to necessarily inquire after him. Okay, it is the lowest level minus ignorance trait. What do we still not know? We still don't know the category of your virtue. We know almost everything about this house. I guess we'll just ask after Valen. He is plus obedience. Okay. Well, that's not particularly valuable. And House Blackborn... Honestly, I think I'd rather know specific vices than the category of virtues. He is slovenly. Alright. There's not a lot of hiding places left for major virtues. We might run out. I have had all of the major virtues run out before the end of the game. That can happen. So we need to watch our ignorance, but everything else is pretty much fair game. So we should try to appoint an advisor. Well, we can't really appoint a minus ignorance advisor in our current state. So I guess you. Yeah, tyranny it is. Or actually, you know what? That was wrong. It should have been Casimir. Right? I guess we don't get to learn anything about Casimir, but honestly, I don't care which obedience virtue tyranny has. Yeah, and Casimir's plus ignorance thing will be pretty useful. Let's bring in Ivan as well. We have a lot of obedience to burn, and he might harbor a major vice. Here we can... As we know everything about the vices of this house, we can afford to go minus fervor. And I suppose it's more important to learn the category of a virtue than the specific virtue. And finally, the Efferson estate. House Efferson will put forth... Valen? Yeah, Valen's the only person who we don't know the vice of yet. With pleasure, he says. I think that's false confidence. I think he knows that he is a monster on the inside. But he doesn't think we'll figure it out. Okay, that's important to do. We need to get our ignorance up a little bit. And then we'll try to figure out your stuff and your stuff, I suppose. Get a little bit of ignorance out of this no matter what. Obedience going up is not particularly valuable. Alright, Casimir does what Casimir does. We know his deal. Ivan totters about, a favorite of the people. We probably shouldn't let a childlike guy be revising the code of laws, huh? And Valen is elegant. He makes it seem fashionable to be organized. Well, that's a valuable thing, I suppose. Let's see here. Do we need to be careful about anybody's approval of us? Not really. I suppose it would be good to get Yosefka up to neutral. And actually, Casimir is valuable to us, so we will pick Casimir both times, and Yosefka will end this season neutral with us. I still would like to know what your vice is, but it seems like it must be a pretty minor one. We didn't really lose a lot of penitence. Yeah, why don't we run these ones? Alright, we know your deal. You do good work. We had a great outcome on goods confiscation. And Ivan is revealed to be scarred. Yeah, it seemed like it must be a pretty minor vice. And Valen is a narcissist. That's fine. You know, a little fan club here and there. As long as he doesn't get more popular than I am, everything's fine. Alright, that being the case, now that we know what Valen's deal is, there's not really another reason to pick him, so I guess let's just grab Demas and see if we can figure out what his, what category his virtue is. Have our average outcome. It's important that there be a little bit of randomness in the outcomes, even once you know all of a person's traits, so I understand that design. Don't want things to get totally deterministic. In a single-player game, usually. I'm a big fan of total determinism in multiplayer games, but I don't know that it's necessary in a single-player game. Okay, well, that was an easy season. One of the things that I think I don't know if it rises to the level of complaint necessarily, but one of the things that I do think is a little disappointing about this game is once you kind of figure out the town, it becomes very hard to lose. And I think we've reached that state. So we will sacrifice the embezzler. There will be basically no negative consequences for us, although, you know, there are going to be some consequences for her. That's like the only one I've actually felt good about. Embezzling is actually like a crime, a thing that is actually a vice. All right, what do you want now, Chernobog? Yeah, get on with it. Enough buttering me up. Encourage obedience, yeah, easy enough. And find the gentle one. So yeah, I think we've run out of major vices, because that is a minor vice he's asking after now. Okay, we get no inquiries from them. They don't really like us very much. What is there still to find out here? We can try to figure out what Miko's specific vice is. That's good to know. But I think we've done it. We're, oh, hey. That's supposed to say 1 year remaining, not 11. Or 1 space 1 year. It could be some kind of code, I suppose. Is the only inquiry here left the specific virtue that Susan Cadwell has? I guess it is. Yeah, I think we've sort of solved the puzzle. Okay, we know everything about you. Unfortunately, there's an achievement for learning every vice and virtue. Unfortunately, we had to sacrifice some people before we found out their specific virtues, so we will not be getting that. Okay, Demas is ignorant. Yeah, that feels about right from what we were observing. That's all of our inquiries. Vicar Efferson. I always want to say Vicar. I know it's Vicar. But I think the problem is that I said Vicar in my head for a really long time before I heard somebody say it, so it's sort of cemented in there. Vicar Efferson argues that priests and penitents shouldn't have to pay for their food, as it's used for Chernobog's glory. Uh-huh. Matron Kegney says such a policy would leave her farmers in poverty. I think we're pretty... House Efferson's pretty good with us, and House Kegney, I actually don't want to upset them any further, so... Vicar Efferson leaves in a huff, muttering about the greedy Kegney, but we gained discipline and obedience at the price of approval that I don't even care about. So yeah, things are going smoothly. We don't really care about our stats this time. We can't lose, and everything's actually well above the hash marks. We can afford to lose some discipline, I suppose. Let's try to figure out what Karel's specific vice is. Seems like a fine time to do that. We are meant to sacrifice the gentle one. Where is that? I know we know somebody is gentle. Not here. Here we go. They want me to sacrifice Demas. Alright, that's fine. We can do that. That's going to have an effect on our fervor. So we probably do want to actually run the person from House Yusefka a couple of times. Which means we need to... It would be nice if we could pick somebody who was minus discipline, but unfortunately we don't have that option. We certainly don't need plus discipline minus ignorance. Yeah, we don't actually have a person from House Yusefka who is very good to run. No. Let's do this. It's okay for us to lose a little bit of ignorance because we actually are probably going to run the person from Kegney a couple of times. So we'll gain some, we'll have some wiggle room on the ignorance. Here, this person is unlikely to get run. And we know everything about everyone who's still alive from this house. I guess this lets us push fervor up a little bit without having to worry about our discipline I don't know. We're not going to run that person. It's just not. It's probably not going to happen. And here we have nothing left to learn. I don't know. We don't really have anything compelling to pick almost anywhere. This is going to be a fairly easy season. So we want to run Karel, both because we would like a little bit of ignorance to use as a buffer, and because we need to figure out what his vice is. But aside from that, I'd like to, I guess we'll get information where we can get information for right now. We'll see how things shake out a little bit. He gives a beautiful sermon, but not a lot of information, unfortunately. Miko has successfully led the crafting of a small shrine. It was discovered to be self-loathing. That's fine, I suppose. And he's found daydreaming during work, returning to reality with fanciful tales. How dare he? Demas has extracted an anonymous confession from a heretic, removing their tongue as penance. Wonderful. I'm so happy about that. He was discovered to be practical, is particularly organized and efficient during our ceremonies. Okay, is there anything particularly important that we need to do in our relationships here? Not really. It would be good if we kept picking Kegni, I suppose. And we're going to sacrifice the guy from Yosefka, right? So we might want to pick Yosefka a couple... Or no, we're going to sacrifice Blackborn. Yeah, Blackborn will be fine. So, I suppose we pick him again. I really would like to know what his vice is. And then, what do we need to drive up? Fervor and penitence, really. We could pick Susan Cadwell to drive up fervor, I suppose, without losing ignorance. Okay, Karel Kegni is a flirt, and he's rumored to have taken on yet another lover. Listen, if you can do that looking like you look, more power to you. A beautiful sermon. Yeah, unfortunately, at this point, as we have basically solved the puzzle of the town, I do think the game becomes a little bit less compelling, but that's okay. We've almost completed it. Yeah, we don't have anything to figure out anymore, so what is the most important trait to improve? We could just run Vasin Efferson by himself and drive Penitence up, but I don't like how much that lowers our obedience. So we can do this as well. Let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? And this will push our approval up with Blackburn a little bit. So we'll just run 2 people. We'll get their effects a little bit more powerful than we're used to seeing them. And we'll get a little bit of bonus approval with their houses. You can see it's plus 10 instead of plus 5 when you've only selected 2 people to work during that month. Okay. A sacrifice must be made. The voices in my head, I'm sorry, our god, our definitely real, definite god, Chernobog, says the gentle one goes. House Blackburn will be outraged, since Demas's transgressions are forgivable, so we lose more favor when we can't sacrifice a person with a major vice. But it's still not as bad as sacrificing a person with an unknown vice. Alright, yeah, maybe it's the same as sacrificing a person with an unknown vice. Minus 50 is a lot. We gained 10 fervor, lost 5 ignorance. The villagers speak of Demas as a holy martyr, perishing for the greater good. At this point, our people are going to see us less as an inquisitor and more as a petty monster. So we have to be careful. Encourage discipline and sacrifice the flirt. I don't want to sacrifice the flirt. I think the existence of the flirt is probably good for the town. Listen, people are really bummed out. A little bit of flirting is good for us. Okay, we have an inquiry, but we actually can't use it. We know everything there is to know. How about Cadwell will give us an inquiry? But no, we can't. You know, we don't have a use for it. Yosefka will give us one. Yeah, we can ask after this, I suppose. Lawful. Sure, that's a fine that's a fine trait. And we don't even have one here. What about this letter? Susan Cadwell arrives concerned. She confesses deep love for two people and must choose one to marry before Chernobog awakens. One makes her happy, while the other inspires her to be a better person. That's a tricky one. That's a legitimately difficult problem. Happiness is fleeting, while virtue is eternal. This will encourage discipline. This might be the thing we choose just because I want to drive discipline up a little bit. If it is not clear to your heart, perhaps neither is right. Or ask the elders of House Cadwell. This is not my affair. I don't care about this. But we really don't need to drive approval up with House Cadwell. Although, I suppose we are about to sacrifice Susan, aren't we? So, maybe that would be the way to do this. Susan groans and trudges away, but House Cadwell is pleased with your sign of respect. You know, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with entertaining two relationships, as long as, you know, they're both the people are aware of what you're doing. But hey, I guess that's not a virtue that we feel comfortable expressing here under Chernobog's gaze. Alright, let's appoint our people for the month. So I guess we still don't know everything about Vasilisa, and her minor vice is pretty minor. Oh, I suppose we should do this. I want to know what's up with him. Here at the Yosefka estate. Well, hold on. We know what we need from Cadwell. We need to appoint Susan. Listen, the crazy voice in my head says get rid of her. We'll get rid of her. It's always been good enough for me in the past. I suppose we could appoint Hannah. Hannah usually has two ends. I guess we'll say Hannah. Hannah practices martial arts on the cliff tops some mornings. Huh. That's pretty cool, I guess. And she's plus discipline. That'll be nice. And we a relatively minor vice. The Blackbourne estate encourages us to pick Casimira, probably, just because, well, I guess there's two people we don't know exactly the nature of. I would rather lose fervor than penitence right now, I think, although they're pretty close. And from the Efferson estate, we will select, good to drive up discipline. We don't have the option. So I suppose let's pick somebody who has a very minor vice. Laszlo. Being scarred's not a big deal. We could certainly afford to lose some obedience. Alright, we're almost done. At the end of this year's winter, I believe, is the fated day. So let's try to figure out what's up with Casimira. Let's also try to figure out what's up with you. And you, I suppose. We'll spend this first month just trying to learn things. A great outcome. Okay, fantastic. Eden is imaginative. Okay, it's not a terrible vice. Another great outcome. Handy. She was discovered to be stoic. Nobody dares complain while Hannah is present. Hannah. Hannah is what I decided I am saying. The problem is Hannah, as the, you know, I have that in my head already. I don't think her name is Hannah. I think it's probably Hannah. But Hannah is a word I'm familiar with. Casimira works extra hard, skipping meals. Okay. At this point, I think we know, if we don't know every trait in the village, we at least are close to knowing every trait in the village. We definitely want to work with the Blackburns one more time to keep them high on approval. Probably want to try to drive Kegney's approval up as well. So we'll keep running him, and I'd like to figure out what your deal is. We probably don't want to lose a huge amount of fervor. You know what, we're pretty okay on fervor. I think I might even run just these two for the approval benefits. Well, let's run Laszlo as well. Try to keep ourselves in the good graces of House Efferson. Okay, we had a great outcome. Whipped the sinful with purifying joy until tears and blood soaked the earth. And everybody's happy about that. What a society. Alright, she was discovered to be stoic. Not a lot left for us to learn, but we're still doing a good job of learning it. And then if we run Cagney one more time, we'll end the month with them neutral to us. I suppose we could do worse than to just pick the 3 people that we have the lowest approval with. Yeah, let's just do that. All of our village virtues are in a fine state. I don't know that it really even matters who we pick from a village stat standpoint. Have some pretty average outcomes here. Okay. And everybody will be neutral or satisfied even after the sacrifice. So that's good. That bodes well for our survival at the very least. Right, House Cadwell will be outraged since Susan's transgressions are forgivable. And listen, I don't feel great about this either. We're going to drive up discipline and down fervor. Oh, and that's true. She does have a major virtue. No, wait. It says minor virtue. And we're not losing a lot of fervor. So yeah, this is just in error. It is a minor virtue, and we are losing a minor amount of fervor. Okay. Almost done. Almost there. We've sacrificed the life of Susan in the name of Chernobog and the good of our people. We do have to, probably take it a little bit easy. We're going to run out of people eventually. My most beloved, encourage fervor. I think our fervor is not super high right now. Now he's asking for the suicide or for the sacrifice of people who are merely complacent. At this point, I think Chernobog's overstepping his bounds a little bit. After the encounter with the outsider, Adjudicator Yosefka suggests that she send all of her boats to search his supposed island of bone. There could be valuable resources or other survivors. Exploration is forbidden. Outsiders are heretics. It's a very, very Warhammer 40k way to go about things. It's fine as long as it doesn't interfere with your duties, or search as best you can. Our Lord wishes us to survive. I'm pretty curious about this myself. Listen. I don't exemplify the virtue of ignorance, okay? That's just reality. Let's do it. Go look. The Adjudicator sends all of her best fishers to search. They return shaking. They report a glimpse of a pale, glinting spine, bigger than their boats, but it's submerged as they approached. The village sings glory to the gods beneath the waves. So -7 ignorance, plus 151 fervor? What? Well, I suppose our fervor problem is solved. Oh, I wonder if there's a typo in the code and that was supposed to be +15, because plus 151 fervor does seem strange, and it definitely was not a typo in the tooltip. We gained over 50 fervor and maxed out our fervor. That's gotta be an error. I'll try to remember to submit that to the dev team. Okay, let's take our inquiries. Timid, sure, I mean, I would be too after all this. And are we done figuring out traits then? Was that the last one? It may well be. Yeah, I think we know the traits of all the living members of the families now. Okay, we're supposed to find the complacent one. Who is that? I should have looked for this while I was looking at the other thing. Cadwell. Aha! Yaromir Cadwell. Welcome to the team, Yaromir. Just don't touch me. I'll touch whoever I want. I'm the... what am I, the High Priest? I'm the important guy. I'll touch whoever I want. Works here just like it does in real life, unfortunately. So we could afford to lose fervor. We don't actually have the option of that here. So we'll just take the person with the minorest vice. So yeah, superstitious and complacent. That's a good combination for our thing here. Oh. Huh, we have 2 people who are complacent. 2 people who fit the bill. Unquestioning and shy. You know, we don't really need obedience. It might be that the best thing to do is just take the most minor vice here. Oh, no, here's a trait we don't know about. There we go, lawful. Now we know everything from everybody who's alive at the very least. Oh, and I just got the achievement, so I guess that must be how that works. It's weird, though, that I have it. I would have thought I would have gotten it last time. Anyway, we need... I mean, honestly, ignorance and penitence are the only things we need to push up, and we don't have the option of doing any of that. So I suppose let's take Nikolai. He's got the smallest difference between his positive and negative scores, but honestly, I don't know that we're going to be picking him at all. Alright, so our position with House Cagney is still the most tenuous. And then I suppose we select, the complacent people. Because we can certainly afford to lose an awful lot of fervor. We should probably select House Blackbourne at least once to prevent them from going into dissatisfaction. And then we're going to sacrifice the dude from Cadwell. So I suppose it's important that we tend to our relationship with the Cadwells as well. Even though we certainly don't need discipline. Hey, we don't really need anything. Alright, let's drive up our ignorance. Drive up our ignorance and, again, just maintenance of our relationship with the Cadwells, because things are going to be a little bit strained after this season. Alright. We must do what our God compels. Or at least I am choosing to do what our God compels. Yeah, House Cadwell will fall all the way to rebellious. They will be outraged, since they were selected last season. Oh, that's true, they were, though. I don't know exactly how much approval we're going to lose with them. I suppose this is a good time to find out. So we were at plus 10, I believe. Let's see how they feel about us now. They dropped to minus 90. That's a lot. That's a lot. We're going to have to pick the House Cadwell guy. A lot. I do think it will be fine, though. So again, we're maintaining our penitence. Interesting. It didn't fulfill the thing. He wanted me to sacrifice the other complacent one, which I suppose we will do this time. So let's pick a person from House Cadwell who we feel comfortable picking a bunch of times. Miri, probably. Person from House Cagney. Honestly, I don't know that it matters, because we're probably just going to pick the person from House Cadwell 3 times. Yeah, let's just rush along here. It's best to appoint people who have plus ignorance or plus penitence, but we don't actually have the option of doing that here. Minus obedience is a pretty small penalty, given our current state. We do not really have a lot of great plus penitence options. Alright, let us begin the final season. The only thing really that matters here is that we not allow the Cadwells to be angry at the end of the season. Judge all souls as fairly as you can, Miri. So when you assign just one person, their traits matter an awful lot. And also, you get a lot of approval with their house. So let's do that again. Okay. And I do believe we've done it. In fact, I'm even going to run one more month of just Miri. And now everybody's neutral. The season's end draws near and a sacrifice must be made. The final sacrifice. I didn't even put in the other complacent guy. It doesn't matter a whole lot. House Blackboard will be outraged. You know what? Something tells me they'll get over it. When I send all of us to heaven? I don't know where we're going, but I definitely have done what I was asked to do. So I guess let's find out. This will be the last entry in my journal. The hour of our salvation arrives. I go now to my final ceremony. As it was written by our ancestors, great Chernobog rises in glory to guide the next age. Our suffering is at last at an end. I don't know if I feel comfortable that that is true. Praise be unto him forever and ever. Amen. I don't know that I have a lot of value to add in commentary at this moment. Result, 3 years. Hey, look, we won. We quote-unquote won. We discovered, actually, we almost did discover all of the traits, too. So, that is that, the Shrouded Isle. That is some, boy, that is some art at the end there. Now, here's the thing. I didn't show a full game in the Let's Try because I didn't want to spoil it. I wanted people who thought the game was cool to be able to go ahead and watch that whole thing, but be able to go ahead and buy the game. But what I discovered by getting one of them is that there are actually other endings. And it turns out that there are 5 other endings. I won't spoil how to get them, but just know that even if you watched this, there is still stuff to do in the game. I think this game is super cool. But that's going to be it for today for us, obviously. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini-series as much as I enjoyed making it. And many thanks to everyone who supports the channel in any way, even just by watching. Seriously, just by watching the videos, you guys actually really are helping me out. That's going to be it for today. Come back next time for something a little bit different, and we'll see you then.